Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd love to welcome here Dr. Jessie Hehmeyer. And you are a heart specialist?
I am a data driven natural medicine specialist, and I work with a
Okay.
lot of people with heart health. So you're in the world. You're totally in the world, Kyle.
Well, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah. So I guide people in determining and addressing the root cause of a variety of health conundrums, ranging from longevity concerns. So that could certainly be around heart health and cholesterol and blood pressure, but also around weight, around digestive distress. A lot of people will receive a diagnosis of called IBS, which fundamentally lets people know that they have an irritable bowel, but it doesn't give them a solution for it. So when we work together, we find the solution, right? Things around skin, around hormones gone wackadoodle for men and women alike. And, when I work with people, we're looking to understand the root cause of these health concerns or conundrums. And then we're using natural targeted interventions to allow the body to heal. So bringing in targeted nutrition, bringing in supplementation as appropriate for your body and your body's needs, lifestyle, and really, guiding people on a journey such that at the end of our work together, our targeted work together, it's like they've taken a class on themselves and they've got the ball. They know what to do. They have the outcomes they came to get, and they also know how to preserve those outcomes over time.
Do you help people with all kinds of skin conditions?
I do, ranging from, whether it's psoriasis or acne or eczema. Those are some of the more common ones that I work with people on.
What's weird is it seems about the same time every night I break out, and I
Hmm.
can't figure out why. Now, I sometimes will break out during the day. It's usually around my feet
Huh.
or like my knees
Uh-huh.
and my arms, uh,
Uh-huh.
my backside,
Both sides or just one side usually?
both sides.
Both sides.
And
Yeah, interesting. I'd be curious for you, Kyle, if what you're dealing with is possibly a food sensitivity, right? And so your reaction maybe is in around when you eat a certain food. The tricky thing about that is food sensitivity reactions can be delayed, so they're not always like right. They don't always immediately follow the eating of the food that you're reacting to. But
Mhm.
that sounds a little bit like something in that world. Also, I might be thinking about for you something called mast cell activation syndrome, when our cells that produce what are called histamines, like, antihistamines or things like Benadryl. Well, those histamines can show up in our skin for sure, right? And so, for some different reasons, people's body can be overreactive, like over enthusiastic about producing those histamines. So, just based on what you're sharing, those are kind of things that I start to think about with something that comes and goes throughout the day like that.
What's weird is for years, a certain time of day, my nose would start running,
Mm-hmm.
and it stopped, and then that's whenever I started breaking out.
Huh.
So maybe
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
some.
Yeah, I think of myself as a detective. So I like I it's interesting to I'm in my mind, I'm like, these are the tests I would do. Right. I'm in my going through the Rolodex of tests I would have you complete.
Are you the monk of your field?
The monk.
I
I
love
don't
that show.
know. Maybe. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, my problems all started when I was 36, and
Mm,
that's when I had a heart attack.
mhm.
And I did lose a lot of weight. I want to say I dropped like 60, 70 pounds, and
Outstanding.
everything started getting real good. And over the last couple of years, I have started gaining weight again. And
Mm,
even when I'm watching what I eat and trying
mm.
really hard, I have a spinal disease, which it's um, my body is making my bones deteriorate.
Got it.
And so it's been one thing after another. Now, I've had one doctor say, "There's nothing we can do for you. You're just gonna have to live with this. I had another doctor say, hey, we can do a bone graft and see if that helps. It's slowed things down. I will say
Mm,
that,
mhm,
but I still have bad days. Is
mhm.
is there something that maybe I can do different that can slow that process down even more?
Perhaps, perhaps. And again, it would all be based on additional information, right? So based on what you're sharing, it makes me think even more strongly about an underlying or hidden food sensitivity, right? Because that can kind of perpetuate the body's response that you're that your body's engaged in. Also, I would start to look at nutrient deficiencies, because nutrient deficiencies can help our immune system behave better, right? If it's not behaving so well, which it sounds like what you're dealing with might be autoimmune in nature. um, and then the other thing that I think about is overall inflammation, which would explain a few different things you're dealing with, Kyle. Would explain the weight gain, and it would also explain all things related to your bone and any kind of pain that you're experiencing. Inflammation is a real stinker, and our body can get kind of caught in a cycle of inflammation, but we can break it. But the first thing is to actually measure it. We can measure inflammation with lab tests, and if we find that inflammation is elevated, then we want to bring in targeted nutritional interventions. We want to bring in some really powerful anti inflammatory herbs and botanicals, um, and fundamentally help your body engage in some healing. Now, I do not profess to have the solution for everybody's problem, right? I'm not,
Right.
but there are a lot of things we can really help. We can really shift the tides of health in many, many different ways. So we never know until we try. And it really does begin with like, okay, let's get the information. And when I work with someone, I always do a complimentary consultation, because to me, I don't want to waste your time if I don't think it's a great fit. And I also want to be really transparent about, okay, this is what you can expect. This is what the process will look like. If at any point along the way, I feel like you're better suited working with someone else, I will let you know. That being said, that very rarely happens. When I'm working with someone, when we've already agreed, like, okay, let's do this together, we get actionable information. We get make those shifts, bring those shifts in, and we do see healing. We do see healing both in the way of symptoms, whether it's around losing weight or reducing pain or slowing the deterioration of bone. And then also around lab tests, we see those measurable improvements over time.
How many lab tests do you usually do?
Oh my goodness, so many. I honestly, when I send people to have their blood drawn, I let them know you are going to feel like you're donating blood, right? It's the phlebotomists, phlebotomists over time in different areas get to know my name. They're like, oh, Dr. Hehmeyer. Ah, yeah, she always orders a lot of blood work. And it's not to be cute. It's because we actually need it. We need it to understand where are our points of leverage? How can we get in there and help the body heal? And that's what those labs tell us.
So this isn't like traditionally when you go into the doctor and they already kind of have an idea in their head, oh, this is what I think it is. This is what you actually get a little more in depth.
Yeah, for sure. And, listen, traditional medicine absolutely has its place, right? When you had the heart attack at 36 years old, right? I'm certain you went to the ER, which was exactly where you needed to go, not me, the ER, right? So we always just want to know what's right when, right? So, traditional medicine does great things. This is just not how they work, right? They kind of have a flow chart. They say, if this, then that, if that, then this, right? That's how they're working. And again, that can be really, really useful. But for me, I'm looking at, okay, but what caused this to begin with? What's the source of this, and how can we support the body either to provide relief from symptoms or improved lab numbers or weight loss, just whatever it is we're looking to do. The body is amazing. There's a lot we can do to support its healing.
I think what people are aggravated with is when you go to the doctor, all they want to do is throw pills at you. and they
Yeah.
don't really they don't do anything for you to change your lifestyle other than, oh, well, you need to watch what you eat and here, take this pill. I had the same problem when I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PTSD.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were so many pills. I was so tired of taking them. I mean, would carry it around in my backpack, and it was almost like I was carrying the pharmacy with me.
Right.
I met a lady some years ago. Her name's Carolyn Corey, and she encouraged me to try meditation. And I did. And what's crazy is some of these medicines that they give you for depression, one of the side effects is may cause depression or feelings of I can't say
Suicide, right? Suicidal ideation. Yeah.
I
Right.
can't really say that word on here, but YouTube is really crazy about saying that word. I don't
Okay.
know
Well, we
why.
certainly want everyone to be healthy and well. So we're not saying
Right.
it for any suggestion for sure. We want everyone to be healthy and well.
Right. But I got
Yeah.
into meditation, and I tell
Yeah.
you what, I weaned myself off of those drugs. And I have to
Yeah.
stress this, I'm not a doctor. You talk to your
Mhm.
doctor before you do anything, but
Mhm.
I got off of those pills and I feel so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's to me, Kyle, one of the there are a few things with how healthcare currently is. One is just like you said, patients aren't being guided in ways they can help heal their body, right? In a traditional, widespread sense. The guidance to, eat healthier or whatever, it's like, that's so blanket. Nobody knows what it means. It's like, okay, great. There was a man who I worked with who he had high cholesterol, and his doctor's guidance was stop dunking vegetables in ranch dressing. He was like, I actually don't even do that. Like,
Right.
okay, fine. Right. But the thing is they're just not trained, right? We all have our toolkits. And just like my toolkit does not include caring for someone who is having a heart attack, that is not in my toolkit. Do not come see me, right? It is not in the traditional medicine approach toolkit to provide preventative care, to provide guidance on natural healing, right? Their tools include medication and surgery. Those are very useful tools in certain situations, but they're not useful tools in the sense that, what we're talking about right now, right? And there are so many things I absolutely adore that you found someone who said, hey, why don't you try a little meditation? I really think it would make a difference with your mood. And you did, and were able to, move along that trajectory to support your mind and your mental health and well being. I mean, I just want to do cartwheels for you. That's amazing.
And mind you, I'm the furthest thing from being a hippie, but I found some of these more natural things to work so much better. Now,
Hmm.
I mean, I still take regular medications. I mean, there's certain things that I need to take, but
That's right. That's called being responsible for your health. That's
right,
great.
right. I mean, we took a trip to New York and I got on the subway. And if you'd known me, that was almost a death sentence for me getting in a
Mm.
crowd and being in this, metal container. And I did my meditation before getting on there. I made it through perfectly fine. My wife is there with me, and one thing that they taught me was to, focus on something else, and I'm able to focus more on her, and everything else just kind of disappears.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I hope when you got off that subway, you really felt triumph. You really
I,
felt proud of yourself.
I felt so much better coming home than I thought I would.
Ah, that's awesome.
So, what got you on this path? How did you discover all this?
I like to say straight lines are boring. I think most people can relate to that, right? But I out of undergrad, I went to UCLA undergrad and really wasn't sure wanted to do from a career path trajectory. I knew that corporate life wasn't going to be my where I'd spend my time. It just for me, it just didn't. I don't have a whole lot of tolerance for doing things I don't love to do. And
Right.
so, for better or for worse, corporate life was not my thing, right? I knew that. And so I worked a little bit as a physical therapy aide. I actually, when I was 25, I was the co-founder of the first boutique strength training facility in Chicago. I came back to the Midwest, that's where I'm from, and was the managing partner there for about 4 years. And over the course of that, I mean, I just loved being able to make a difference in people's health and well-being. But I also felt like there was a ceiling, and the ceiling was really my knowledge, right? I had a great set of skills to help in a certain way, but I really wanted to expand my knowledge. And so that led me first to, well, getting 2 different graduate degrees, ultimately to allow me to do what I do today, ultimately allowing me to practice what I like to call data-driven functional medicine or data-driven natural medicine.
Well, pharmaceuticals do help a lot, but do you think that some of these pharmaceutical companies are a major reason why doctors do what they do?
So there are a few different reasons why MDs or mainstream MDs reach for those pharmaceuticals. One is, in their training, that is what they are trained to do, right? They're trained to use pharmaceuticals. They're not trained to use nutrition or supplements or botanicals or lifestyle. They're just not, it's not in their curriculum. If you look up the curriculum, you will see it's not in there, right? So that's for one thing. Also, then we can start to ask, well, why is it like that? Well, a few different things. One is they have to pass the boards, their board exams, right? And then we could look at, well, who writes those board exams? People from the pharmaceutical industry do have a hand in writing those board exams. And then there's the whole, lobbying that goes along with the pharmaceutical industry. So it's quite complicated. And we don't want to pretend that, prescriptions are all bad, right? They do, there are things they do very well, and they're very important for many different reasons. And when most of the people who I work with, or at least a lot of, I would say the majority of the people who I work with, we are taking an integrative approach, right? They are taking some medication, and we are working with their body to support it naturally. So we don't want to just, make a blanket statement of pharmaceuticals bad, but I think it's useful to be curious about how did we land in this reality where that's really the only tool that is offered people from a mainstream perspective. And so it really begins with the education.
Do you think that, and forgive me if I say this word wrong, but like psilocybins are going to be a wave of the future?
I hope so. I really hope so. I think there's a lot of potential in psilocybin. You said it perfectly. And these, whether it's using microdosing as a way, I think about our brain and its neuroplasticity, its ability to change the way we think is really what we're talking about there. And these psychedelics have a lot of potential when used responsibly. Now, what does responsibly look like? Really, just fundamentally speaking, making sure, first of all, it's the right thing for you. They are not the right thing for every brain. They are not. And then making sure that how you're using it is the right thing for you. Perhaps microdosing is a better approach than macro or, like full-blown psychedelic experience, but perhaps it's not. Maybe the guided psychedelic experiences is appropriate for you. But, so I would encourage anyone who's curious about this to do a little bit of looking into what would be, is this right for me? And then if so, what approach and where am I getting these things and how am I making sure that I'm integrating my experience in a way that allows me to evolve. That's fundamentally what we would use it for, whether it's around PTSD or addiction or trauma, which everybody has in some way, shape, or form. So there are a lot of really great uses for psychedelics that I believe are going to continue to grow and evolve over time.
There was a lot of things that we were taught as children were just, it's bad. Like marijuana was going to Do you remember they actually used to have videos and it's like somebody got murdered and they would say, yes, this person was using marijuana and it caused them to do this. And now we're finding that there's a lot of benefits to marijuana. Now, me personally, I stay away from it. That was my gateway drug, if you want to call
Hmm.
it that.
Yeah.
And I had a severe drug problem. I graduated to cocaine and
Mm.
methamphetamines and things like that. So I'd stay away from it. But if
Yeah.
you
Awesome.
can
Good.
take certain chemicals and put it in medications and they would help, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're totally spot on, Kyle. I mean, a few different things that I love about what you just said. First of all, just knowing for yourself what is right. Like, okay, not for me, but maybe for others. Great, wonderful. And if for others, then it's like, okay, who might this be useful for? And what amount? And how do we make sure that this remains useful and not harmful? So there are a lot of there's so much we're learning, and there's a lot of really great advocates and researchers out there looking to find new ways to help people heal. Right, we can see with what's happened in these last decades with the opioid epidemic, and all this really heartbreaking stories of methamphetamine use and addiction and overdose. It's just there are better ways, and I sure do hope and I think we are moving in the right direction for to care for people.
I was very fortunate when we lived up in the Austin area. I had a pain care physician because I mean, I live with pain every day. And I told him, I said, look, I'm an addict. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to be hooked on opioids and things like that. And I know I will abuse it. Is there an alternative? Now, it is like a opioid, but it's buprenorphine,
Mm-hmm.
which they use. A lot of addicts use that to get off of stuff like the opioids and what have you. And it's been like a miracle for me because it makes me not want to use, and it also helps relieve the pain, actually better than what opioids did for me.
Awesome. That is so great. I love it. That's fabulous. Mm-hmm.
And you are a founder of Well Empowered. Now,
That is
what is Well Empowered?
right. Well Empowered is my practice. So, Well Empowered is my practice. And, within that, you can kind of hear the name. My commitment is people being well empowered, people thriving and inspiring others to do the same is, my mission with a capital M. And, inside of this well empowered work, right, I want people to be geared up with information specific to their body and how to heal it and care for it. I want people to feel very tapped into their unique why, what I call their inspiration, which is different than motivation. Inspiration will carry you through the ups and the downs and the challenges that you inevitably will encounter when mastering anything. And then, gearing people up with their own unique strategies, helping them figure out, how do I integrate this into my life such that I'm able to maintain it over time? So that is what well empowered is.
Do you have a website?
I sure do. It is wellempowered.com. So EMPOWERED.com. And for anyone listening right now, a few different ways that you could kind of learn more. One is if you go to wellempowered.com, feel free to schedule a complimentary consultation, whether you're interested in actually working together or just want to chat, like want to share a little bit about what you're dealing with. Please feel free to do that. That's what that is for. Other ways you can engage is I offer a weekly dare. So if you go to wellempowered.com/dare, you will find a place where you can sign up. And every Sunday, you're going to be prompted to engage in a micro habit for the week, right? So it might be something as simple as for the week ahead, don't eat out of a bag, right? So if you're eating chips, take it out of the bag, put it in a bowl, eat your chips. If you want a second serving, fine, go back to the bag, put it in the bowl, eat it out of the bowl, right? So that's just an example of a micro habit that I would invite you to take on for a week and just notice what comes up for you. What do you learn about yourself or about the way you eat or relate to food, right? So that's kind of a fun little thing. And then there's lots of free resources on our website, webinars and blogs and recipes, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, I say damn Frito-Lay because they came out with the spicy queso Funyuns, and it's hard to stop eating it.
Well, you know what? And the truth is, Kyle, they know that. They
Right.
actually engineered it. Like scientists sat there and figured out what is going to keep people eating those things, right? There's a great article, actually. Sometimes I give it to people. I give people homework when we work together because it really is a course. And one of the articles I give people is basically a summary of a book written by Michael Pollan called, I think it's called Sugar, Salt, Fat. I might have the words in the misorder, but it's something like that. Salt, sugar, salt, fat, something like that. And really it's pointing to in the food industry how they're no dummies, right? Their number one North Star is profits. And how do they make profits? People eating more of their food. And how do they make that happen? Well, they play with the flavor so that you're not quite satisfied, but you like it enough. And because you're not quite satisfied, you keep eating it, chasing that satiety. And they know what they have this term called disappearing calories, where if it's the right density, it almost feels like you haven't eaten anything, even though it's really high calorie. So you keep eating more. So they have all these tricks, and that's what you're getting in those Fritos.
Exactly. Well, and also, what's your social media?
My social media, so on Instagram, you can find me at Well Empowered, and on Facebook at You Well Empowered. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will put your links in the description just to make it easier for folks. But thank you again, Dr. Jessie. I appreciate you coming here.
Thanks so much, Kyle. It's been a treat to be with you and your audience.
And I also want to thank you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Till the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network